Breaking news.
So China just threw a massive military parade in Beijing, with Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong sitting front row. Yeah, not your average air show. This wasn't just fireworks and marching bands. It was a global power flex, a giant neon sign flashing, "America, we're coming for your seat." China has once again stepped into the global spotlight, this time with a military parade designed to send a very clear message to the United States and its allies. The event, attended by Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, wasn't just about showing off firepower. It was about signaling unity, strength, and defiance in the face of Western pressure. The occasion was symbolic. The 80th anniversary of China's victory over Japan in World War II, celebrated as Victory Day. The capital city of Beijing was transformed into a stage for one of the most spectacular military shows in modern history. Red carpets rolled across Tiananmen Square, cannons thundered in salute, and the Chinese flag was raised to the national anthem before thousands of soldiers, tanks, and aircraft marched and flew in perfect synchronization. President Xi Jinping used the moment to deliver a bold statement. He declared that China would not be intimidated by bullies and emphasized that the country would continue to move forward no matter what obstacles it faced. His words set the tone. This parade was not simply ceremonial, but a direct challenge to the West's dominance. More than 26 foreign leaders attended, with Putin and Kim Jong-un taking center stage as honored guests. Their presence underscored the deepening ties between Moscow, Pyongyang, and Beijing, three nations increasingly portrayed by the West as outcasts, but determined to present themselves as an alternative pole of global power. The weapons on display were nothing short of intimidating. Among the most talked about was the CH-7 stealth bomber drone, nicknamed the Rainbow. Modeled after America's B-2 bomber, the CH-7 is a massive unmanned aircraft weighing 6,500 kilograms without payload, standing 3.2 meters tall with a wingspan of 22 meters. It can reach altitudes of 13 kilometers and travel up to 3,500 kilometers, carrying as much as 5,700 kilograms of weaponry. Beyond size, it boasts advanced capabilities such as real-time radar detection, electronic warfare, and precision targeting of enemy command centers and missile bases. This drone wasn't just built to fly, it was built to redefine China's presence in modern warfare. And that was just one star of the show. The parade also featured China's DF-series intercontinental ballistic missiles, including the DF-5 and DF-31. But the weapon that truly turned heads was the DF-27, a long-range missile with a range exceeding 8,000 kilometers. Chinese state media hinted that this missile was specifically designed to strike U.S. bases in the Pacific, particularly Guam. In tests earlier this year, the DF-27 reportedly penetrated American missile defense systems, an achievement that would dramatically shift the strategic balance. This was not the first time China had showcased its military strength, but the political context made it particularly striking. Since the outbreak of Russia's war in Ukraine, tensions between the West and both Moscow and Beijing have soared. Sanctions have pushed Russia to rely more heavily on China, especially in energy exports, while North Korea continues to defy international restrictions with missile launches and weapons tests. By standing together in Beijing, these leaders projected a united front against Western isolation. The rivalry between China and the West is not new. After World War II, the global order was reshaped, with the United States at the center of a new system of alliances like NATO and economic institutions dominated by the dollar. China and Russia, once at odds themselves, eventually aligned as communist states. Though they clashed in the past, including a violent border conflict in 1969, their modern relationship has been defined by pragmatic cooperation against Western influence. The United States still enjoys clear advantages. Its economy remains the world's largest, the dollar dominates global trade, and NATO continues to be the largest military alliance on Earth, with over 1.3 million soldiers, thousands of advanced weapons, and control over much of the global arms industry. Yet events like China's parade demonstrate that the balance is shifting. The East is determined to challenge the Western monopoly on power, using a combination of military strength, economic partnerships, and political symbolism. Russia, despite being heavily sanctioned, with over 16,000 restrictions placed on it by the US, EU, and allies, has managed to survive by deepening ties with Beijing. Moscow has become a top supplier of fuel to China, and trade between the two nations has soared since sanctions began. For Putin, standing alongside Xi at the parade was a message to the West. Russia may be isolated in Europe, but it has powerful friends elsewhere. North Korea's role should not be underestimated either. Kim Jong-un's attendance was a reminder that Pyongyang is increasingly aligning itself with Beijing and Moscow, creating a potential triangle of cooperation that alarms Washington, Tokyo, and Seoul. With nuclear weapons and a willingness to defy international law, North Korea adds volatility to this emerging alliance. President Xi framed the event as more than just a display of weapons. He linked China's rise to its long, difficult history, referencing the devastating civil war from 1927 to 1947, which cost over 5 million lives, and the many natural disasters and conflicts that once weakened the nation. According to Xi, China has learned from these struggles and is determined never to fall behind again. His speech described the future as a new journey, a new era, urging the country to remain committed to socialism and to preserving its civilization. Vladimir Putin, echoing Xi, spoke of the importance of traditional values and the dangers of Western cultural dominance. Together, the leaders framed their cooperation not only as military and political, but also as ideological, a rejection of Western liberalism in favor of what they describe as cultural authenticity and sovereignty. The military spectacle itself was breathtaking. Rows of tanks rolled down Chang'an Avenue, formations of warplanes thundered across the skies, and soldiers marched in perfect rhythm. Anti-drone systems, armored vehicles, and artillery lined the streets, while advanced jets performed flyovers. Beijing's decorations, from banners to fireworks, gave the city an atmosphere of celebration and defiance. Yet not everyone saw the parade as cause for celebration. Many Western leaders refused to attend, particularly due to Russia's role in Ukraine. Japan warned its allies not to legitimize what it called an anti-Japanese event, highlighting the deep scars left from history. For the West, Putin's presence in Beijing alongside Xi and Kim was seen as a provocation, proof that these countries are drawing closer together in open defiance of the international order. China, however, views these alliances as necessary. With the world's largest standing army of over 2 million soldiers, China remains a communist state ruled by the Communist Party. Its discipline, industrial power, and rapid technological advances have made it a formidable rival to the US. Still, Beijing recognizes its limitations. The dollar remains the global reserve currency, and Chinese or Russian alternatives have not gained serious international traction. Economically, it may take decades before either country can truly rival America's influence, but the symbolic power of the parade cannot be ignored. It sent a clear message. China is no longer content to remain a secondary player in global affairs. With Russia and North Korea at its side, Beijing is positioning itself as the core of a new bloc, one that challenges the dominance of the United States, NATO, and the Western-led system. The event also highlighted how much the global landscape has changed. A generation ago, the idea of Putin, Xi, and Kim standing together at a celebratory military festival in Beijing would have been almost unthinkable. Today, it represents a new reality, a world moving toward multipolarity, with new centers of power emerging. Whether this alliance will remain symbolic or evolve into a true military and political bloc is still uncertain. What is clear is that China has used its military parade to make a statement both to its own citizens and to the world. The days of unquestioned American dominance are being challenged, and Beijing is ready to lead that challenge.